good for us to remember this Sunday that the signs of Jesus, which John recounts in his gospel stories, are not designed to impress us. They're designed to teach us. Each of the signs that John chooses from Jesus' ministry and recounts are moments in which we can gain some insight into Jesus, the Messiah, who brings these works from the Father to us. That's just by way of introduction. This Sunday, we find ourselves at the third moment of Epiphany. Already the light has shone, the bright star, and led the Magi to the house in Bethlehem. Already we've joined Jesus at the Jordan as John baptizes him and the Father announces for the world to know that this is his beloved Son. And now we find ourselves at the wedding feast at Cana, the church's third traditional expression of Epiphany, as Jesus is revealed to his disciples. So they ran out of wine, and it would be a very reasonable place for us to start to try to figure out why they ran out of wine, right? Was this because the bride and groom scrimped and saved and did everything they could, but they still couldn't quite afford enough? Was it because only Mary was invited, but Jesus brought all of his friends and they overwhelmed the party? Was it because everybody was enjoying themselves too much and the wine just ran out? Now, that's our natural starting point, right? To try to figure out whose fault it was. But in all of the signs, Jesus sidesteps that because they become opportunities. So they want to know why the man was born blind. And Jesus sidesteps it to show that he is the light of the world. Martha and Mary are quite upset with Jesus because maybe he could have come and healed their friend Lazarus. But Jesus sidesteps the blame because it's an opportunity to show that he is the life for the world. So today, they're out of wine, and Mary sees this as an opportunity for her son to show something of the ministry and mission entrusted him by the Father. And immediately, I think our minds go to things like the blood and water that flowed from his side as he hung on the cross. John will tell that story later. Maybe our mind goes to how Jesus said that we had to drink his blood in order to have life, and that blood was poured out at our Eucharistic table. And now Jesus already is foreshadowing that as he pours out gallon after gallon of wine. Maybe, and maybe most importantly, this is a story of abundance, of a God who isn't satisfied to basically meet our needs. Probably a few gallons would have been enough to finish out the party. Jesus turns 180 gallons of water into wine, and not just wine that would satisfy an inebriated crowd. He brings them the finest of wines in not just abundance, but in excess. And this tells us something of God's work in Jesus. This tells us something of how God seeks to work in our lives and how we're called to live. What this love is that God pours out into our lives, already shown in this first sign in John's Gospel. And Jesus is revealed not just as a wonder worker, but as a man who deeply cares about his brothers and sisters. He's shown to us as Messiah, who is capable of pouring out blessings beyond imagine into our lives.